Hi, I'm here today with Joe Chernov from InsightSquared. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks, Alex.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Welcome to Vegas. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk today about going beyond inbound with account-based marketing.
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll just jump right into it. So first question, who is account-based marketing even for? I know historically we've thought about it being something very well suited for the enterprise space and kind of the mid-market, but is it also an approach that SMBs and all types of organizations could possibly consider?
Increasingly so. So like account-based marketing classic, as I call it, is absolutely upmarket. You know, you think of all of these giant stadiums that are built now and they're funded by the luxury boxes. And who sits in the luxury boxes? The prestigious accounts owned by the big technology or big shipping companies. But what's happened in recent years is there's been technology innovation that's allowed for marketers, even at marketers that aren't in a Fortune 500 or even a Fortune 50 company, to start to identify who their buyers are, find look-alike buyers, and be able to market to them in a very, very targeted fashion. So it's many of the elements of account-based marketing that we used to see in the classic world, but it's more democratized now. It's able to reach more accounts, and therefore, smaller companies can do it.
Great. So who should be involved in account-based marketing? I know a lot of the sales guys and the success stories we hear about, they love it because the marketers are now talking about accounts, which is how they've measured success and what they think about, right? But is it just the marketer who's on point for it, or should other people in the organization be involved?
So other people in the organization have to be involved. It's not even a should question. There's been talk for a long time. We're at Marketo Summit, and these guys have been really a champion of sales and marketing alignment.
Right.
What that's always really meant is that the sales leader and the marketing leader both shared a KPI that was a small fraction of their bonus. So yes, they were aligned, but like 10% of their bonus was riding on it. The alignment in ABM is necessary. It's an absolute. So what has to happen is sales and marketing have to mutually identify the accounts that the company's going to go after. If marketing is spending significant resources on specifically identified accounts, and those aren't the accounts that sales is trying to sell to, it's going to be a complete waste of effort. It's going to be a complete waste of money. So it absolutely has to begin with that tight alignment, and it really needs to go all the way up to the executive. Like, we couldn't run this at InsightSquared if our head of customer success, our head of product, and our CEO wasn't bought in. It just wouldn't work.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see marketers face? I actually hear it's tougher on the marketing side than the sales side with implementing the strategy.
I think it's a couple things. Show me how I'm measured, and I'll show you how I behave. And the metrics aren't fully in place for account-based marketing, right? If you're running inbound marketing, you kind of know what the metrics are, right? It's traffic, it's conversion rate. Account-based marketing, you have to look at a little differently. You have to look at sales velocity. You have to look at named account to opportunity rate, opportunity to close rate, deal size, kind of wonkier metrics that are frankly a little bit harder to measure. And so that's the first piece that makes it a challenge. The second piece that makes it a challenge is there's no template to follow right now. If you want to run inbound marketing or content marketing, Marketo has published a significant amount on that subject, some other vendors in the space as well, and there are all these companies that are really champions of this cause, but there isn't a blueprint for account-based marketing in the way that Marketo has written one on the content side.
Right. Have you seen any good examples that you could share in terms of marketing ABM tactics that have worked successfully?
For us or others?
Or that you've even come across?
Yeah, I'll tell you one I love. It is a company called Influitive, and I think they're a sponsor here. And Jim Williams is their CMO. And they were at Dreamforce last year, and they knew there were like 20 accounts they wanted to sell to. And so they architected their booth off of their ABM play. And their booth was designed to look like an old Western Most Wanted poster. And they had like 20 people that anybody on the show floor could go and track down, and they would bring them in, like corral them in like the Old West, and they would each get like $100 or something. I thought the money was kind of unnecessary. Maybe that was, maybe they could have gone a different way with giving people cash, kind of changes the dynamic a bit. But I loved the idea that they had a most wanted list, and anybody on the show floor could go pull in like their buddy that happened to be on the list.
So how's that a metaphor for how you think about it kind of at a outside of the expo floor?
Outside of the Expo floor, it's like kind of by any means necessary, right? Like you have, in our case, 5,000 accounts. If I live or die by those 5,000 accounts, or if I'm at a big company, 50 accounts, if I live or die by those 50 accounts, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get in front of them. And I think that's what Influitive was doing.
From a marketing perspective, and then I'm also going to loop in the rest of the team, whether it's the sales guys, the support guys, to make sure that we're doing everything we need to do to drive, whether it's demand gen or post-sale, upsell, cross-sell.
All the way throughout, absolutely. Like that's a really good point. I have somebody in my team who is focused on account-based marketing for retention. So we have various triggers. We know if you don't log into our application a certain period of time, then you might be a churn risk.
Right.
So she's monitoring those signals to make sure that if anything starts to decay, she's on the account. But the other part to all of this, whether on the marketing side or on the customer success side, is there are silent influencers in every deal. And there are silent influencers in every account. Like we're unlikely to get a CEO on the phone during a sales call. We may get the head of sales, we sell to the sales function. CEO or the CFO is going to be involved in the decision, just not on the phone with us. So we run marketing toward those audiences, even though we know there'll never be a digital signal that says we were successful. We're going to have to just look at the global lift in success rates. We're not going to get those guys on the phone. They're not going to click through a form and fill out a form or come to a landing page. So we have to just sort of trust that our ability to target them and involve them in the process will yield results down the line.
So that brings me to the next question. It's a perfect segue. How do you rethink measurement in an ABM model, right? And you're just talking about one of the things that you actually can't measure, right? If I'm marketing to the CEO, I'm not sure how it directly correlates. So in a world where we can measure so many things, what are kind of the core things that we need to think about when it comes to ABM? And maybe do you have any examples of times where your measurements fallen flat?
Sure. Now, look, there are some things you can do to get a sense of whether or not you're being successful in reaching that elusive CEO. So we can do an A/B test, right? We can run a campaign that some accounts we don't run it at the CEO, and some we do include the CEO, and look at the relative performance of those. That isn't going to tell you the absolute value, but it'll give you a signal as to whether or not it's working. When it comes to measuring ABM, we look at the account to opportunity rate. In between the two, we have a metric called an MQA, a marketing qualified account. So we look at the marketing qualified account to opportunity rate, and we compare that against non-MQAs to opportunities, and we have to make sure that that metric is a reliable proxy for somebody that's going to enter our sales funnel.
Got it.
And then we look at the MQA cohort of opportunities and see how those convert into deals. And we look at the sales cycle, and we look at the deal size. So we want our MQAs to convert at a higher rate and at a higher value than all other sources of leads, essentially.
Great.
Accounts.
Give us just maybe another example or two about, because inbound is real. I mean, inbound's still like a huge way in terms of how marketers think about reaching their audiences, right? So what are some of the challenges that marketers face with an inbound strategy?
So look, I'm not anti-inbound. I think you need both. Now, what it comes down to is what is the relative balance of both, right? Like, are you heavy ABM, light inbound? Are you heavy inbound, light ABM?
Sounds like you do a mixture of both.
We do a mixture, and we're skewing ABM right now.
Okay.
The challenge with inbound is just it takes a long time. It's essentially a long tail strategy. People have to find you. People have to be looking for a certain topic. You have to have written on that topic. What you wrote on that topic has to be discoverable. It has to rank high. People then have to read the article. Those people then have to click through a form and go into your funnel. Then once they're in the funnel, they have to be the right person to get sold to. There are so many points of breakage in that process that it just doesn't, can't alone drive the revenue engine for most companies. It's a necessary piece, but it can't be for most companies, unless you sell really to the base of the pyramid, it just can't be a standalone marketing strategy.
Great. So I mean, I think we've already covered quite a bit, and I know it's a lot of good details. What are kind of the 3 takeaways that you would advise an organization who's getting started with account-based marketing to think about?
Okay. think of it as balance, like we were just saying. I wouldn't throw away everything you're doing. You're going to need some classic solutions marketing. You're going to need some inbound or content marketing, and then think of this as cumulative. I would also say everyone wants a winner. Find a target segment of accounts, get like a SWAT team of reps involved, and run a test with those accounts and compare the performance of those accounts against some other baseline. And once you show signals, once you show signs that it's working, others are going to join in. It's going to be easier to sell upstairs.
Got it.
And the third piece I would add is, you know, one of the more forgotten roles in marketing is the sales enablement function. Sales enablement function, the sort of connective tissue between sales and marketing, person that equips sales with their one-sheeters and competitive intelligence, that can be a uncelebrated role in the marketing department. In an ABM world, it's a little topsy-turvy. Suddenly, that
salesperson is helping the marketer, right?
And it's that nexus becomes the most vital connection in the marketing department. The sales enablement person suddenly the celebrity.
I love it.
Because the blog content, even that inbound content, has to be informed by what the reps are trying to do with these target accounts. It comes all the way up to the top, and the sales enablement content, topics, I should say, informs the editorial strategy.
I love it. So these are some great tips. Thanks to Joe for giving us some great tips on thinking about how you can create an ABM strategy that goes beyond inbound, that's a mixture of both. So thanks again for your time, Joe. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.